Greetings and welcome back to the Galley of the Sun. It is Sunday here at the Oasis, the global headquarters of Galley of the Sun. And on Sundays, a couple things happen. We're going to be watching either NFL football or some NASCAR. And we're going to have about 15 to 20 friends and family over. So, when I make this Meaty Texas Chili, I will talk about the ingredients. I'll do my best not to talk about amounts because I am doing multiples of this because we're having so many people over. So, without further ado, I've done a little bit of prep already. I have stemmed and seeded my dry chilies. What we're using today is some guajillo chilies. We are using some ancho chilies, which is a poblano that's been dried. And we're using some mulatto chilies, which is a poblano that has been smoked and then dried. These things are absolutely amazing. So anytime you have a recipe that calls for anchos, I am fully convinced that you should throw in, replace one or two of those anchos with a mulatto. Flavor's incredible. It's not going to give you the same beautiful red rich color that ancho chilies do. It's going to give you a bit darker, but oh my God, it's worth it. Another pro tip about dealing with dried chilies. So almost every recipe that uses dried chilies has you do one of two things to them. It'll either have you toast them first and then chuck them into some hot water or broth, or it'll just have you chuck them into the hot water or broth. So if you're toasting, then go through your bag and try and find your straightest, smoothest peppers you can, because that way it's a lot easier to flip something like this than something that's all craggly. When you go to remove the seeds, you end up with 100 pieces of chili. The pieces are still good, but that is a pain in the woohoo.
Tallywhacker?
You're damned right.
If you're trying to flip those over as you're trying to toast them. And toasting them doesn't take long. Takes less than a minute, so you don't have a whole lot of time to work with. Next thing I'm going to do is get some sweet onions. I'm going to get these diced up. Now, I want the meat to be the start of the show, but I want the onion flavor, so I'm going to dice these pretty small to where they'll pretty much break down to nothing by the end. I'm going to use my badass Dow Strong Japanese 10.25 inch chef's knife for this, because I love it. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these onions prepped up, and then the rest of the action happens over at the stove. There is a ton of ingredients for this. As always, loyal viewers, all the ingredients, their amounts, and the directions are down below in the description section. So use that. If I do slip up and give you an amount, it's for multiples of it. So unless I'm talking about garlic, you might not want to use whatever I'm saying. Okay, we'll see you then. All right, here we are at the stove, ready to get this thing started. A note, I am not making a spicy chili. I'm making a family-friendly chili. If you do want spicy chili, you can add more chili powder than the recipe says. You can add up diced up jalapenos, chipotles, serranos, whatever floats your boat. We love a little bite, but we absolutely love flavor, and that's what I'm going for. Now, to come up with this recipe, I decided one day, I want some good meaty Texas chili. So I looked about 10 different recipes and then took bits and parts from each one that sounded like it worked for our tastes. This is one of the most intriguing parts of it. So we're going to get a skillet on medium-high heat. And then I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of bacon grease to it. Get that good and melted. Now once that bacon grease starts to shimmer, that's what we're going to toast our chilies with. Never seen this before, but thinking about it, how could it possibly be wrong? It can't.
It can't.
Now, as I said before, toasting chilies only takes about a minute or so. So I'm going to get these in there until they become fragrant and start to puff up a bit. Now they're not going to puff up a whole lot because they're all cut in half so I can get the seeds out, right? But you'll see the change in shape. The last thing you want to do is burn your chilies because it is so much work to get them de-seeded and de-stemmed.
It is potentially catastrophic.
So keep a close eye on them. Alrighty, I am smelling what the meat is cooking, so it's time to get these out. We're going to put them right into a blender. Now it's time to brown up the meat in batches. First of all goes in ground beef. Now, we're using our own aged ground beef that we make here at the Galley of the Sun. The video that talks about that is linked down below in the description section. Right into that chili flavored bacon grease. Oh yeah. As that meat is browning behind me, I'm going to add enough boiling water to the blender to get those chilies covered. So they're going to be nice and soft to make us a paste later. All right, we'll work with that. I'll push them down. Also, as I brown each batch of the meat, it's going to go onto a paper towel lined baking sheet for later use. So I'm going to get to browning up all that meat, and then we'll see you when it's time for the next step. All right, all my meat is browned over on a paper towel lined sheet. I forgot to tell you that the meat is a mixture of ground beef, and like I said, we're using our aged ground beef, ground pork, and ground sausage, which I like to use Jimmy Dean's if I'm not using my own homemade stuff. And alas, I'm out. All right, now it's back to the stove for the next step. All right, so the same pan we did the meat in, now we're going to chuck all of our onions in there. And this is our last step before we get out our big ass chili pot and start putting all this together. Now the strategy over here is we're going to cook these onions for about 10 minutes so they get good and translucent, cooking those in the juices from the meat. Then I'm going to add right at the very end some diced up fire roasted hatch green chilies, get all that mixed up, and then get this off the heat, and we'll start putting the components together. So we shall see you then. All right, I'm happy where my onions and hatch green chilies are. Now let's start constructing in our big ass Texas-sized stock pot. Now, as far as a lot of the ingredients, the stock pot, the knife, stuff we use, you'll find links down below in the description section if you wish to get those for yourself. Some of them will take you to Dow Strong if it's knives, or to Amazon. We get a small commission, but you can find things easily. So there we go. All right, let's put this chili together. First of all, into the stock pot on medium heat goes the meat. And hopefully not the paper towels.
Which is not advisable.
Also, we add our onions and hatch green chilies that we just cooked up. Our dried chilies that we toasted up at the beginning in that bacon grease. I got that all blended up in the Vitamix. Now that goes in. Now, I'm not going to take this to the sink yet because we're going to be adding more liquid constituents later, and we can use that to rinse this out to get every bit of that flavor gold. So at this point, I'm also going to add tomato paste. Love the Centro brand. All right, I'm going to give that a good stir and get it all mixed up. Now in goes a generous amount of minced garlic, and we'll mix that together. And we'll let this go until we start smelling a heck of a lot of garlic. Now we start to add all of the remaining spices. First thing up, chipotle chili powder. Next, ground cumin. One of my favorites, smoked paprika. Now, you could add garlic powder at this point, but if you really love the people you're making this for, you'll use some Spiceology's Vampire Killer. Oh yeah, this stuff's amazing. Oregano, leaves of the Mexican variety. And some of Spiceology's Achote seasoning. Give that a good stir. Oh my God, and the instant change in the aroma, holy crap. Now goes in your crushed tomatoes. Another quick mix. Now once again, you can use any brand you want, but I highly recommend that you use San Marzano tomatoes. Oh, they're incredible. All right, next goes in the broths. Now, we love better than bouillon, so we've got the roast beef broth is going in, the roasted chicken broth is going in, and to me, the star of the show, smoky chipotle broth. This stuff's incredible. So a mixture of those. Once again, all the amounts are down below in the description section. Now I'm going to take some of that broth. We'll do it with the chipotle. I'm going to pour it into my blender here with that chili paste we made with our dried chilies to get all the rest of that out. No use wasting any of that. Chicken broth. Cow broth. Now, if Charlotte did not find this Hatch Green Chili beer, I would be adding Modelo's at this point. But if you got Hatch Green Chili beer, you should use it. Now, if you hear Hatch Green Chili beer and go, ew, then you, my friend, need a checkup from the neck up.
Absolutely.
Be more open-minded. It's good stuff.
Damn right.
All right, we give all that a mix. We've got one more ingredient to add, I think. I'm going to go check what I have on the counter. Especially when you're cooking something with this many ingredients, set everything out at the beginning. That way, if you turn around and you can see something that's still sitting there, all lonely, you forgot something. Put it in.
Do it.
And I did. One is bay leaves. A little bit of salt. We'll test it as it goes along and adjust it as necessary, but we'll start out with a little bit of salt and pepper. I like the coarse ground stuff, again from Spiceology. And then we're going to add a little bit of masa. All right, so from this point on, you are going to let it simmer. The longer, the better, the more it's going to intensify and the thicker it'll be. And give it a stir every once in a while. Make sure you have yourself a good quality pot too that transfers the heat well. That way you don't burn on the bottom. I made that mistake when I made jambalaya last time, so I immediately went out and bought this big ass stock pot. There's a link for that down in the description also. All right, so we'll see in a few hours when it's ready to get some judgment on this Texas chili. We'll see you then. All right, the chili has been simmering for hours. The director has been smoldering for years. And she's ready to give us some judgment. Here we go.
Very good.
All right. How's the bite? People will be interested.
A little bit, not bad. Just a little bit in the back of the throat. Yummy.
Okay, so like I said, the recipe that I wrote here is pretty family friendly. There is a small bite, but if you want more, add some jalapenos, some serranos, some habaneros, something like that.
Otherwise, it's delicious.
All right, there you go. Hey, hope you enjoyed what you saw today. Until we see you next time, fair winds and following seas. Ain't that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Okay, be done so I can eat.